Wilfredo Pareto once observed that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by just 20% of the people. That single observation, made in the late 19th century, evolved into one of the most powerful ideas for success and productivity in the modern world, the 80 by 20 principle. Richard Koch, in his influential book, The 80 by 20 Principle, shows us this is not just a statistical curiosity, but a universal truth that shapes businesses, relationships, wealth, and even personal happiness. It tells us one profound truth: most of what we do does not matter. A small fraction of our effort creates the majority of our results. In this episode, we're diving deep into the book, unpacking its wisdom, and showing how the 80 by 20 principle can transform your work, your wealth, and your life. The 80 by 20 principle, also known as Pareto Principle, states that 80% of results come from 20% of causes. It is not always an exact 80 by 20 ratio, but the pattern repeats across all areas of life. Imbalance is everywhere. In business, 80% of sales often come from 20% of customers. In time management, 80% of your most valuable work comes from 20% of your activities. In relationships, 80% of happiness comes from 20% of the people you know. Richard Koch's message is clear. If you can identify that 20% and focus your energy there, you'll multiply your results while reducing effort. Think of your life right now. What are the 20% of things you do that bring you the most joy, income, or growth? What are the 80% of things draining your time without much return? One of Coach's strongest points is that being busy does not equal being productive. Many of us spend hours buried in tasks that add very little value. He writes that the key to success is not doing more, but doing less of what doesn't matter and more of what truly counts. Here is the paradox. When you focus only on the top 20% of activities that matter, you often end up with not just 80% of results, but sometimes 90% or even 95%. Meanwhile, if you focus on the wrong 80%, you'll always feel tired, frustrated, and stuck in mediocrity. Coach encourages us to ask, what can I stop doing? What should I give up? What is the essential 20% where my time creates the biggest value? This isn't just productivity hack, it's a way of life. Imagine designing your career, your business, and even your personal life around the activities and people that yield the greatest rewards. That's living by design, not by fault. In business, the 80 by 20 principle is revolutionary. Coach himself made millions by applying it in his consulting and investment career. He discovered that 20% of products usually generate 80% of profits. 20% of customers bring 80% of revenue. 20% of employees create 80% of value. Smart businesses stop chasing every opportunity and instead double down on their top performing customers, products, or markets. Think of Apple. Out of thousands of potential products, they focus on a tiny range: the iPhone, the Mac, the iPad. And yet they dominate global markets. Amazon, too. The majority of its profit comes from relatively small portion of its services like AWS. The principle also applies to personal wealth. Most people scatter their energy across too many ventures, but the wealthy focus deeply on a few high value opportunities. Coach suggests we should invest in our strengths, the areas where effort produces outsized results. Instead of spreading thin, become exceptional in the vital few. The principle is not about money, it's about happiness, love, and peace of mind. Ask yourself, who are the 20% of people who bring me the most joy, encouragement, and growth? What are the 20% of activities that recharge me, inspire me, and give life meaning? On the other side, what are the 80% of things causing stress, frustration, or emptiness? Koch argues that life improves dramatically when we spend more time with the vital few who left. All right, practical applications. Coach argues that life improves dramatically when you spend more time with the vital few who uplift us and less time with the trivial many who drain us. It's about selective living, being intentional about where we give our time and energy. Relationships, hobbies, even daily habits. The law of 80 by 20 runs through them all. So, how can we apply this principle right now, today? Richard Koch suggests several practical steps. 1. Identify the 20% that matters most. Write down all the activities, people, or projects in your life. Which few create the biggest results? 2. Eliminate or reduce the trivial 80%. Learn to say no. Cut out low value tasks, distractions, and obligations. 3. Multiply the top 20%. If one project, one customer, or one habit is producing huge returns, double down. Amplify it. 4. Simplify everything. Stop complicating your schedule. Simplicity is not laziness, it's clarity. 5. Design your ideal lifestyle. Ask, if I could spend 80% of my time on the top 20% of things that matter most, what would my life look like? The move towards it step by step. The magic of the 80 by 20 principle is that it frees you from the illusion that success requires endless struggle. True leverage comes from focus, clarity, and prioritization. The 80 by 20 principle is not just a tool, it's a lens through which you can see the hidden pattern of life. It whispers a liberating truth. You don't have to do everything, you only need to do the few things that truly matter. Richard Koch leaves us with a challenge. Stop chasing the trivial many and dedicate your life to the vital few. Because success is not about doing more, it's about doing less but better. So ask yourself right now, what is the 20% of your life that creates 80% of your happiness and success? And are you ready to focus on it? This is the path to freedom. This is the path to impact. This is the 80 by 20 life. Peace and love, Hamza.